Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Parks. I work as a coach for expats and global nomads. You might already know me if you've seen one of my videos in the past. And this year in 2020, I have a challenge for myself to be recording more regular videos. And in January, something I've been talking with all of you about is not only setting our New Year's resolutions or making goals for ourselves, changing habits, but especially how can we maintain those things? Because often the common things we hear people saying about how to motivate ourselves, how to stick to goals, isn't actually the best thing, right? Like around New Year's resolutions, we can get really excited, have a lot of energy about a new goal. But what about when we fall off the wagon, when we stop following through that goal? Or what about when something gets in the way? Like last week I talked in my video about procrastination, which is a really common thing that gets in the way for a lot of us when we have something that we want to work on. Because very often these things require change and they require doing things that are difficult. And so of course, it's hard work to intentionally sit down or stand up or whatever it is, get out the door and do something that's hard. So in my video about procrastination, I talked to you a little bit about one of the things that we can do to overcome procrastination is to treat ourselves with self-compassion so that when we fail, because failing is a completely normal part of growth, that we won't, it won't be like falling out of a window. I gave kind of an extreme example there with in my last video, but really self-compassion can act like a safety net. So I wanted to talk in this week's video a little bit more about what that looks like, and specifically with how we can use self-compassion as a way to motivate ourselves. Because the thing is that most of us it's not our default thing to motivate ourselves with coming from a self-compassionate place. But I want you to think about, when's the last time that you were talking with a friend and they told you that they'd been procrastinating about something? So one example that came to mind for me was, imagine that you have a friend, and you can think of your own scenario if you want to here, but a friend expat friend who you went and got coffee with, and they told you that they had been thinking a long time about writing a blog or starting an Instagram, something like that, about sharing about their expat experiences. But they just, they've been thinking about it for months, maybe even a full year, and they just hadn't done it. They hadn't taken the first step. Imagine if they told that to you, what things would you say to them? So I'm guessing you would probably say something to them like, wow, that sounds really hard. It sounds like it sounds like it's a little bit of a scary thing, but it's okay, right? And I can imagine that if you wanted to encourage them to take the first step, you would probably also say something like, I really believe in your ability to do this, or I would love to read that, or even though it's hard, I totally trust that you can do it. You would probably say really encouraging things. You would definitely remind them of their potential. But chances are, the last time that you were procrastinating on something and not, kind of avoiding that first step, or the second or third step, most of us don't talk to ourselves in that kind and encouraging way. Instead, we usually say things like, you're being so lazy, or I don't know if you're ever gonna get this done, what's wrong with you? We usually say pretty harsh, critical things to ourselves. And the idea is there that, most people, believe that actually talking to themselves like that helps them to get things done. And maybe it does sometimes. Maybe it does help you to get things done. But it probably doesn't make you feel very good about yourself. And research actually shows that people who are motivating themselves and encouraging themselves with self-compassion, more of that kind of loving and encouraging way, that they actually have higher levels of self-efficacy, which is a really big, complicated word, I think, to just describe that they believe in their potential. They believe in their ability to carry out the goal that they have in mind, to take action, and also to deal with any setbacks that come up as well. So even if there's a part of your brain that's saying, yeah, but if I start being too kind to myself, if I start being a little bit too easy on myself, I'm probably not going to get anything done. Well, the truth is, research shows something different. So maybe keep that in mind. we actually tend to feel so much better about ourselves, and people who are self-compassionate tend to get a lot of things done too. One thing I like to talk to my clients about is this idea of like, you know, being a high achiever is a great thing. And it's great, you know, to set high goals for yourself and to get things done. But we don't want to tip into that realm of perfectionism. And the perfectionism is really like one of the things we can notice about it is that it comes up when we're being highly critical of ourselves. So self-compassion is a great way to keep ourselves in that zone of, you know, getting things done, and kind of going for our dreams and our goals and our habits, new habits that we want to put into place, but without feeling bad about ourselves and without kind of getting into this tug of war inside of ourselves, because that just fuels procrastination. A cool thing too is related again to last week's video. Research also shows that self-compassionate people who motivate themselves with self-compassion, they tend to have less of a fear of failure. Because again, if you know that if and when you fail, you are going to come back to yourself and you're not going to beat yourself up, of course failing is less scary. And the cool thing too is that when you're not afraid of failure, it's much easier to kind of like regroup and come back and think about like, okay, you know, where did I go wrong there? How could I, you know, approach this problem again? How could I get back to like taking action? So I would really encourage you to think about, you know, this week, if you notice that you're procrastinating on something, or you notice, you know, that there's something on your to-do list that you're kind of not so excited about, think about, could you motivate yourself in a kind, encouraging way? And could you remind yourself like, I believe in you, this is hard, but I know that you can do it. And remind yourself too, you know, of the benefits that are going to come, of how you're going to feel after you get to check this thing off of your to-do list. I would love to hear what your thoughts are about this idea, and I'd also love to hear if you want to share about a time that you used this week as well. So feel free to leave a comment, send me a message, and I hope that you have a great week. Take care. Bye.